She was 5 years old. Pink backpack, two puff ponytails, sneakers with the left sole peeling apart. She stood in the parking lot of a Kroger in Buckhead, Atlanta, staring up at the tallest man she'd ever seen. He wore a black suit that cost more than her mother made in 3 months. His watch alone could have covered their rent for a year. And she asked him one question that cracked something inside him he didn't know still existed. "Are you my daddy's friend? Can you tell him to come home?" Seon-woo Kang, 33 years old, the most feared name in Atlanta's underground, looked down at this little girl and couldn't speak because he knew exactly why her daddy wasn't coming home, and it was his fault. 2 years ago, Marcus Gaines drove for Seon-woo Kang. Not limos, not town cars. Marcus drove the vehicles that moved between locations no GPS ever recorded. He'd been with Seon-woo for 3 years. Loyal, quiet, steady. The kind of man who showed up on time, kept his mouth shut, and never asked questions he didn't need answered. Seon-woo respected that. In his world, silence was the highest currency. Marcus had a wife, a daughter, a life outside the operation that Seon-woo never asked about because caring about people's lives meant carrying weight he couldn't afford. On a Thursday night in November, everything went wrong. A routine exchange on the south side of the city turned into an ambush. Rival crew. Gunfire erupted from 3 directions. Seon-woo's men scrambled. In the chaos, Seon-woo's right-hand man, Junho, pulled him into an armored SUV and got him out. Marcus was in the second vehicle, the one that didn't make it. The next morning, Seon-woo's security chief, Victor Kwan, delivered the news. Marcus didn't survive. No body recovered. The rivals had disposed of everything. Seon-woo sat in his office for an hour after Victor left, said nothing, felt nothing he'd allow himself to feel. Then he buried Marcus Gaines in the part of his mind where he kept every cost of the empire he'd built. Just another name, just another loss. Except Marcus had a daughter who was 3 years old at the time, and a wife who woke up one morning to find her husband simply gone. No call, no body, no explanation, no closure. Just silence where a person used to be. And now, 2 years later, that daughter was standing in a parking lot holding a crumpled photograph, asking a stranger if he knew her missing daddy. Seon-woo stared at the photo in the girl's small hand. Marcus Gaines, smiling, holding a baby. His chest tightened. "What's your name?" His voice came out rougher than he intended. Naya Gaines." She held up the photo higher. "This is my daddy. He went away before my birthday. Mama says he loved us very much, but she cries when she thinks I'm sleeping." Seon-woo's jaw clenched so hard his teeth ached. "Have you seen him?" Naya asked. "You look important. Important people know everybody." Before Seon-woo could respond, a woman's voice cut across the parking lot. "Naya? Naya, come here right now." A woman in hospital scrubs moved toward them fast, grocery bag in one hand, phone in the other, exhaustion carved into every line of her face. Late 20s, dark brown skin, natural hair pulled back tight, the kind of beauty that didn't need effort, but had clearly stopped trying. She reached Naya and pulled her close, eyes snapping at Seon-woo with immediate suspicion. "I'm sorry if she bothered you. She does this, asks everyone." Her voice was polite, but guarded, the voice of a woman who'd learned not to trust. "She wasn't bothering me." The woman studied him for 1 second too long. Then she lifted Naya onto her hip, adjusted the grocery bag, and walked away without another word. Seon-woo watched them cross the parking lot, watched Naya wave at him over her mother's shoulder, still clutching that photograph. He memorized the license plate without thinking. Old habit. Then he sat in his car for 20 minutes, hands on the steering wheel, engine off. Marcus Gaines had a daughter who still carried his photo everywhere, a wife who still cried at night, a family still waiting for him to walk through the door. And Seon-woo was the reason he never would. A 5-year-old just asked the most dangerous man in Atlanta if he knows her missing daddy, and he does. He knows everything because he's the reason Marcus Gaines disappeared. Drop a heart if that parking lot moment already has you emotional. Imani is raising Naya alone, working hospital shifts, and still doesn't know what happened to her husband. And the man who holds that answer just looked into her daughter's eyes and said nothing. Hit that like button and subscribe to Tales by Wave, because Seon-woo is about to make a decision that will pull him deeper into this family's life. And the secret he's carrying is a bomb with no timer. Stay with me. This is where everything gets complicated. Imani Gaines worked the overnight shift in the emergency room at Grady Memorial Hospital. 12 hours on her feet. Blood, chaos, people at their worst and most vulnerable. She'd been a nursing student when she met Marcus. He'd walked into the campus clinic with a cut on his hand he swore was from cooking. She cleaned it, wrapped it, told him he held a knife like someone who'd never actually cooked before. He laughed, asked for her number. She said no. He came back the next day with a different cut. She said yes. They married young, had Naya fast. Life was tight but warm. Marcus worked nights, doing what he called private driving. Good money. Enough for a small apartment in Decatur, enough for Naya's daycare, enough for Imani to keep taking classes part-time. Then, one Thursday, Marcus didn't come home. No call, no text, no accident report, no body. Police were useless. Missing persons case opened, tips went nowhere. Marcus Gaines simply vanished like smoke. 2 years of nothing. 2 years of Naya asking where Daddy went. 2 years of Imani holding herself together during the day and falling apart at 2 a.m. She finished her nursing degree because she had to, got the ER job because it paid, moved to a cheaper apartment because there was no choice. Built a life out of survival, not hope. Her best friend Trina, a respiratory therapist at the same hospital, told her constantly that she needed to move on. Girl, you can't keep waiting for a ghost. He's not a ghost. He's missing. It's been 2 years. I know how long it's been. Imani didn't snap. She never snapped. She just went quiet in a way that ended conversations. The truth was, she wasn't waiting for Marcus anymore. She was waiting for answers. Something. Anything. A reason that made sense. Because a man who loved his daughter the way Marcus loved Naya doesn't just walk away. Something happened, and nobody would tell her what. Seon-woo couldn't stop thinking about the parking lot. 3 days after the encounter, he had Junho pull Marcus Gaines' old file, everything they'd kept, employment record, payments, the incident report from the ambush, and the address of his emergency contact, Imani Gaines. "Why are you looking at this?" Junho asked carefully. Junho was the same age as Seon-woo, sharp, loyal since childhood. He was the only person alive who could question Seon-woo without consequence. "His daughter found me." "Found you?" "In a parking lot. Showed me his photo, asked if I could tell her daddy to come home." Junho was quiet for a long time. "That's not your problem, Seon-woo." "I know. But Marcus knew the risks. Every driver knows the risks." "I said I know." But knowing didn't stop the crack in his chest from spreading. Knowing didn't erase the image of a 5-year-old waving at him over her mother's shoulder, still believing her father might walk through the door. That night, Seon-woo did something he'd never done before. He opened his personal account and transferred money. Not to an associate, not to an operation, to Grady Memorial Hospital's billing department. Imani Gaines had $14,000 in outstanding medical bills from Naya's emergency appendectomy 8 months ago, paid, anonymous. Then he called a contact at Naya's elementary school. Tuition balance and after-school program fees cleared. He told himself it was guilt management, a transaction, settling a debt the only way he knew how. But debts you settle don't keep you up at 3 a.m. staring at the ceiling. Imani noticed within a week. She opened the hospital billing portal expecting the usual gut punch. Instead, the balance read 0. She called billing 3 times. Same answer. Anonymous payment. No name, no return address, just a wire transfer. Then the school called. Naya's fees were covered through the end of the year. Another anonymous payment. Imani sat in her car after picking up Naya, hands gripping the steering wheel, mind racing. She wasn't the kind of woman who sat still when things didn't add up. She's already digging, and Seon-woo just left a trail he didn't mean to leave. If you think Imani is about to uncover something that changes everything, you're right, but what she finds will be worse than she imagined. We've all had moments where someone's kindness felt like it was hiding something. Would you trust anonymous help, or would you need to know the source? Drop your answer in the comments. Subscribe to Tales by Wave, because Imani and Seon-woo are about to collide, and when they do, neither of them will be the same. This story is just getting started. 3 weeks later, Seon-woo was brought into Grady Memorial's emergency room at 1:47 a.m. Not a gunshot, not a fight, cardiac arrhythmia. His heart had been skipping beats for months. He'd ignored it the way he ignored everything that suggested weakness, until his body dropped him in the middle of a meeting and Jun-ho called an ambulance he didn't ask for. Imani was on shift. She didn't recognize him at first. He was in a hospital gown, not in a suit, pale, wired to monitors, looking less like the most powerful man in the city and more like someone whose body had finally demanded he stop. Until his eyes opened and she knew. You. Seon-woo blinked, still disoriented. Then his focus sharpened. The woman from the parking lot, Marcus's wife. Of all the hospitals in Atlanta. Your heart rhythm is irregular, Imani said, professional, controlled. We're running tests. You need to stay still. I'm fine. Your heart disagrees. Lie back. Something in her tone. Not cold, not warm. The voice of a woman who'd spent years handling people in crisis and had no patience for anyone who made it harder than it needed to be. Seon-woo lay back. Over the next 4 hours, Imani checked his vitals, adjusted his IV, and said nothing personal. She was efficient, focused, good at her job in a way that was impossible to fake. At 5 a.m., during a quiet stretch, Seon-woo spoke. Your daughter, Naya, how is she? Imani's hands paused on the monitor controls. You remember her name. She's hard to forget. Imani turned to face him. Her expression was careful, measured. She's fine. She does that to everyone. Walks up to strangers with her father's picture, asks if they know him. Most people just smile and walk away. But you didn't walk away, she added quietly. You stood there, like you'd seen a ghost. Silence filled the space between them. I'm sorry about your husband, Seon-woo said. The words tasted like ash. How do you know about my husband? Your daughter told me he was missing. Imani studied him, searching, weighing. She tells everyone that too, but you're the first person who looked like it hurt you to hear it. Seon-woo held her gaze. Everything in his training told him to deflect, change the subject, maintain distance. Instead, he said, some things should hurt. Imani didn't respond, but something shifted in her eyes. A crack in the armor. Just a hairline fracture, but enough. When his discharge paperwork came through at 7 a.m., Seon-woo paused at the door. The bills, the school fees. That was me. Imani's expression didn't change, but her hands went still. Why? Because I owe a debt I can't explain yet, but I will. He left before she could respond. The next Saturday, Naya was playing in Piedmont Park when she spotted him on a bench across the path. She ran over before Imani could stop her. Suit man! Seon-woo looked up from his phone. Naya stood in front of him, grass stains on her knees, grinning. You came to the park. Do you come here a lot? We come every Saturday. Mama says fresh air fixes everything, but I think ice cream fixes more. Seon-woo glanced past her. Imani was walking toward them, expression unreadable. I'm starting to think you're following us, Imani said. I live 4 blocks away. Convenient. It is. The faintest ghost of a smile crossed her face, gone before it fully formed. Can he sit with us? Naya asked. He looks lonely." "Naya." "He does, Mama. Look at his face. He has nobody face." Senwoo felt that land somewhere deep. Amani looked at him for a long moment. Then she sat on the bench. Not an invitation, just a decision not to walk away. They talked. Carefully at first, about the park, about Naya's school, about nothing that mattered. But underneath the surface conversation, something pulled. She asked him what he did. He said investments. She asked what kind. He said the kind that keeps him busy. She didn't push. He appreciated that. He asked about her work. She told him ER stories with dry humor that surprised him. She was sharp, direct, funny in a way that caught him off guard. Naya ate a popsicle between them, swinging her legs, content. When they stood to leave, Naya grabbed Senwoo's hand. "Will you come next Saturday?" He looked at Amani. She didn't say yes, but she didn't say no. "If your mama says it's okay." Amani looked at their hands, her daughter's small fingers wrapped around the stranger's palm. Something in her chest pulled tight. "We'll see." They came back every Saturday. It happened slowly, the way dangerous things always happen, not with explosions, but with small moments that accumulate until you realize you're standing somewhere you never meant to be. Senwoo learned that Amani drank her coffee black because she'd given up sugar when Marcus disappeared, a small punishment she'd never undone. He learned that she braided Naya's hair every Sunday night while watching old movies, that she hummed when she was concentrating, that she carried guilt for every moment she wasn't enough for her daughter. Amani learned that Senwoo ate alone every night, that he spoke to his mother in Seoul every Sunday morning, but never told her the truth about his life, that he was terrified of hospitals, which made his appearance in her ER that night even stranger. They never touched, never crossed the line, but the space between them grew warmer every week, and both of them felt it. One evening, walking back to Amani's car while Naya slept on Senwoo's shoulder, their hands brushed. Neither pulled away. "Senwoo," Amani's voice was quiet. "Why are you doing this?" "Doing what?" "Everything. The bills, the park, this. You don't know us." He carried Naya carefully, her small face pressed against his collar, her breathing soft and trusting. "Maybe I need to." "That's not an answer." "I know." Imani stopped walking. "I'm not someone you can fix to make yourself feel better. Whatever guilt you're carrying, I'm not the solution." The word guilt hit him like a blade. "You're right," he said quietly. "You're not a solution. You're a person. And your daughter asked me a question I still can't answer. And until I can, I need to be here." Imani searched his face in the dark. "What question can't you answer?" He looked at Naya, sleeping on his shoulder. Peaceful, safe, still carrying that photo of her father in her backpack. He asked if I was her daddy's friend. "And?" Seunwo's voice barely held together. "And I don't deserve to say yes." He just told her he doesn't deserve to call himself Marcus's friend. Imani heard it. She felt the weight of what he's not saying. This man is falling apart under a secret that could destroy everything he's building with his family. And Imani is too smart not to sense it. Was he wrong to get close? Is this guilt or is it something real? Would you trust a man who says he owes you a debt he can't explain? Tell me in the comments. If you're not subscribed, Tales by Wave, you're about to miss the moment everything shatters. This secret has a shelf life, and it just expired. Subscribe now. Victor Kwan had been watching. From the moment Seunwoo started pulling Marcus Gaines' old files, Victor's survival instincts had fired, because Victor knew something Seunwoo didn't. Marcus Gaines wasn't dead. The night of the ambush, when everything went sideways, Victor made a deal. The rival crew didn't want Marcus dead, they wanted leverage, a man inside Seunwoo's operation who could feed them information. Victor delivered Marcus to them in exchange for a cut of their territory. He told Seunwoo that Marcus died. No body, no evidence, no questions. Clean. For 2 years, it stayed buried. Now, Seiyunwoo was spending Saturdays in the park with Marcus's wife and daughter, getting close, getting soft, and soft people start asking questions that hard people can't afford. Victor made a call. We have a problem. On a Tuesday night, Imani came home from a shift to find her front door unlocked. Nothing was taken, nothing was moved, but on the kitchen table sat a single envelope. Inside, one line typed on white paper. Stop asking questions about Marcus Gaines. Imani's hands didn't shake. She read it twice, folded it, put it in her pocket. Then she called Seiyunwoo. Someone was in my apartment. He was at her door in 14 minutes, checked every room, every window, every lock. Naya slept through it, clutching a stuffed bear and the photograph she never let go of. In the kitchen, Imani showed him the note. Seiyunwoo's expression went cold, not the careful control she'd seen before. Something deeper, something lethal. Who did you tell that you were looking into Marcus Gaines? Nobody, just you. The silence that followed was the loudest thing Imani had ever heard. Seiyunwoo, her voice was steel. What do you know about my husband? Imani. Don't manage me. Don't protect me. I have spent 2 years with no answers. Someone just broke into my apartment where my daughter sleeps. So you're going to tell me the truth or you're going to leave and never come back. He looked at her. This woman who worked 16-hour shifts and braided her daughter's hair and carried grief like a second skeleton inside her body. This woman he had no right to care about, but did. Marcus worked for me. The words hit the room like a detonation. Imani didn't move. Say that again? Marcus was my driver. For 3 years. He worked in my organization. Your organization? Yes. And what exactly is your organization? He didn't look away. The kind that gets people killed. Imani's face changed. Not tears, not rage. Something worse. Clarity. The ambush. Seiyunwoo continued, each word costing him. 2 years ago, we were hit. My team pulled me out. Marcus was in the second vehicle. My security chief told me he didn't survive. No body recovered. And you believed that? I had no reason not to. You had every reason. Imani's voice cracked. He had a family. He had me. He had Naya. And you just accepted that he was gone because it was convenient? Imani, you came to my daughter's park, you held her while she slept, you paid my bills, and sat in the hospital and looked me in my eyes, knowing that you were the reason she doesn't have a father. Yes, the word hung between them. Get out. Imani, please. Get out of my house, don't call me, don't come to the park, don't come near my daughter. Her eyes burned, but she didn't cry. She wouldn't give him that. Seiyunwoo stood, walked to the door, stopped. I'm going to find out what really happened to Marcus. Whether you want me in your life or not, I owe him that. You owe him more than that, Imani whispered. You owe him everything. He left. The door closed, and Imani sat on her kitchen floor with her back against the cabinets and finally let herself break. Imani just threw Seiyunwoo out, and she had every right to. He lied, he hid, he built something beautiful on a foundation of guilt and silence. And Imani, who already lost everything once, just lost it again. But someone broke into her apartment. Someone left that note. And if Seiyunwoo didn't send it, then someone else knows about Marcus. Someone who doesn't want the truth found. Drop a heart if that kitchen floor scene wrecked you. We all trusted someone who was hiding something. The question is whether the truth destroys everything or whether something real can survive it. If you're not subscribed, you need to be, because what Junho discovers next changes the entire story, not just for Seiyunwoo, for Marcus. Subscribe to Tales by Wave. Junho didn't sleep for 3 days. When Seiyunwoo told him about the note left in Imani's apartment, Junho's instincts screamed. No rival crew leaves warnings about a dead man. You threaten people about secrets that are still alive. He started pulling threads. Financial records, communication logs, the exact timeline of the ambush 2 years ago. Who was where, who called who had access to the second vehicle's route. At 4 a.m. on the third night, he found it. A transfer, 48 hours before the ambush, from Victor Kwan's account to a shell company linked to the rival crew. $200,000. Not payment for information, payment for a delivery. Victor hadn't reported Marcus dead because Marcus died in the ambush. Victor reported Marcus dead because Victor had sold him. Junho drove to Senwoo's penthouse at 5 a.m. and laid everything on the table. Marcus is alive. Senwoo stared at the documents. His hands were steady, but something behind his eyes was burning. Victor sold him to Kwan's crew. They've had him working under duress for 2 years. Different city, different name, but alive. Where? Houston, operating under a warehouse distribution front. He's been trapped, Senwoo. No phone, no contact, no way out. Victor told him that if he ever reached out to his family, they'd be the ones who paid. Senwoo was quiet for a long time. Then he stood. Get the team. We're going to Houston. And Victor? Senwoo's expression was something Junho had never seen before. Not rage, not calculation. Grief. Victor answers for everything, but Marcus comes home first. The warehouse in Houston's Fifth Ward was unremarkable. Concrete, loading docks, the kind of place nobody looks at twice. Senwoo's team moved at 3 a.m. Quick, precise, overwhelming. The rival crew's operation collapsed in under 7 minutes. No casualties, just handcuffs and hard drives. Senwoo found Marcus in a back room. He almost didn't recognize him. Marcus was thinner, older than his 31 years. A scar ran along his jaw that hadn't been there before. His eyes had the hollow look of someone who'd stopped expecting rescue. He was sitting on a cot staring at the wall when the door opened. Marcus looked up, saw Senwoo, and his face did something complicated. You came. I should have come 2 years ago. You thought I was dead. I was told you were dead by someone I trusted. Marcus closed his eyes. Victor. Yes. He told me if I ever tried to contact Imani or Naya, he'd have them hurt. He said you gave the order. Senwoo felt that sentence cut through him. I never gave that order. I thought you were gone, Marcus. I carried that for 2 years. Marcus opened his eyes. And my family? Naya is 5 now. She carries your photo everywhere, asks every stranger she meets if they know her daddy. Marcus's face crumpled. And Imani? She's the strongest person I've ever met. She finished nursing school, works at Grady Memorial, raised Naya alone, never stopped wondering what happened to you. Take me home. Yes, that's why I'm here. The flight back to Atlanta took 2 hours. Marcus didn't speak. He sat with his hands folded, staring at nothing, processing 2 years of captivity ending in 90 seconds of door kicking and a face he never expected to see again. Senwoo sat across from him. There's something you should know before we land. Senwoo looked at him. I've been in Naya's life for the past few months, and Imani's. I started because of guilt, because your daughter found me in a parking lot and asked me to tell her daddy to come home, and I couldn't breathe. He paused. But it became more than guilt. I care about them, both of them. And Imani found out about the connection 3 days ago. She told me to stay away. Marcus studied Senwoo for a long moment. Do you love her? That doesn't matter. It matters to me. Senwoo met his eyes. She's your wife. You're going home to your family. That's the only thing that matters right now. Marcus was quiet. Then he said something Senwoo didn't expect. Thank you for finding me, for being there when I couldn't be. I should hate you for all of it. But you're bringing me home to my daughter, so I don't. Imani opened her front door at 6:17 a.m., expecting no one. Marcus stood on her doorstep. She didn't scream, didn't collapse. Her hands flew to her mouth and her entire body went rigid, like her brain couldn't process what her eyes were showing her. Mamie. His voice. That voice. She'd replayed in her head every night for 2 years. The voice she'd started to forget and hated herself for forgetting. Maney? I'm home. Imani reached out, touched his face, his cheek, the new scar along his jaw. Real, warm, alive. Then she pulled him inside and held him so tight her arms shook. Daddy? They both turned. Naya stood in the hallway in her pajamas, hair wild from sleep, clutching the photograph she always carried. She looked at Marcus, looked at the photo, back at Marcus. Daddy, you came home! Marcus dropped to his knees. Naya ran into his arms, and a man who hadn't cried in 2 years broke completely apart, holding his daughter on a hallway floor at 6 a.m. in a small apartment in Decatur, while his wife stood above them with tears streaming down her face and her hand pressed over her heart. Behind them, on the street below, Senwoo sat in his car. He watched the light in the apartment window, saw the shadows move, imagined what he couldn't see. A family, whole again. Because of him, despite him. He started the engine and drove away. Marcus is home. Naya has her daddy. Imani has answers. But Senwoo is the one driving away alone. He brought Marcus back, he exposed Victor, he gave this family everything they lost, and he asked for nothing. But here's the question nobody can answer yet. Was what he built with Imani real? Or was it just guilt wearing a mask? And can Imani ever look at him without seeing the man whose world stole 2 years of her life? We've all had someone do something unforgivable and then do something irreplaceable. Can both things be true at the same time? Tell me what you think in the comments. 6 months passed. Marcus was healing, not just physically, but the kind of healing that happens in quiet moments, reading Naya bedtime stories, learning his daughter's voice again, her laugh, the way she argued about bedtime like a lawyer presenting closing arguments. Imani and Marcus rebuilt slowly. Not the marriage they'd had, that version was gone, but something new, careful, honest, built on the understanding that they'd both survived things the other couldn't fully understand. Marcus got a job managing operations for a logistics company, clean, legal, the kind of work that let him come home every night. Grandma Ruth moved closer to help with Naya. Trina declared herself the official family therapist, a role nobody asked her to fill, but everyone secretly needed. Senwoo kept his distance. He dealt with Victor quietly and permanently, restructured his security, began the slow, painful process of transitioning his operations toward legitimacy, not because he'd become a different person overnight, but because a 5-year-old girl had asked him a question he wanted to deserve a better answer to. He didn't call Imani, didn't go to the park, didn't send money or show up at Naya's school. He simply stepped back, the hardest thing he'd ever done. Then, one afternoon, his phone buzzed. Unknown number. Naya's school play is Friday at 6. She's playing a sunflower. She asked if you'd come. Imani's voice. Neutral. Controlled. Senwoo was quiet for 3 seconds. She asked? She's been asking for weeks. I told her I'd call. And you're okay with this? A long pause. I'm okay with my daughter seeing the person who helped bring her father home. Whatever else we are, that's real. I'll be there. Senwoo? Yes? Don't be late. She takes the sunflower thing very seriously. He almost smiled. I won't. Friday evening, elementary school gymnasium, tiny chairs, construction paper decorations, parents filming everything on phones. Senwoo arrived early, sat in the back row, wore a dark suit because he didn't own anything else. Marcus and Imani sat in the second row, Grandma Ruth beside them, already recording on an iPad she barely knew how to use, Trina beside her, narrating everything in real time. When Naya walked on stage in a yellow sunflower costume, 3 sizes too big, she scanned the audience, found her parents, beamed. Then her eyes found the back row. She waved. Huge, unsubtle. The entire audience turned to look. Xianwu waved back. After the show, Naya ran to her parents first. Marcus lifted her high and she giggled. Then she wiggled down and made her way to Xianwu. She stood in front of him. Yellow petals crooked, face paint smudged, and said the things she'd been saying for 2 years. "Are you my daddy's friend?" Xianwu looked at Marcus across the gymnasium. Marcus met his eyes and nodded once. Not forgiveness, not absolution, but acknowledgement. Something that said, "You brought me home. That counts." Xianwu knelt down to Naya's level. "Yes," he said. "I am." Naya grinned. "Good, because Daddy says friends show up, and you showed up." She hugged him. Quick, fierce, the way only children hug, with their whole body and no reservation. And Xianwu, a man who had built an empire on silence and control, held a 5-year-old in a sunflower costume and felt something he'd spent his entire life avoiding. He felt known. Imani watched from across the room, Marcus's arm around her. Her daughter hugging the man who had broken her world and then put it back together in a different shape. She didn't fully forgive Xianwu, maybe she never would, but she understood something Grandma Ruth had told her once. People aren't one thing, baby. The same hands that hurt you can be the hands that heal you. The question isn't whether you forgive. The question is whether you're brave enough to let the truth be complicated. The truth was complicated. A mafia boss who left a man behind out of survival, then spent months trying to pay a debt he could never settle. A wife who lost her husband to a world she didn't know existed, then found him again through the same man who'd taken him. A father who came home to a daughter who'd never stopped believing he would. And a little girl who asked one question over and over until the world finally gave her the answer she deserved. Some debts can't be paid. Some truths can't be simplified. Some families don't look the way they're supposed to. But sometimes, the person you can't forgive is the same person you can't forget. And sometimes, that's where the real story begins. From a parking lot question to a school play reunion, this story just took everything from me. Naya finally got her answer. Marcus is home, Xianwu showed up, and Imani is learning that strength isn't choosing between trust and self-protection, it's holding both at the same time. What was your favorite moment? Naya asking the question in the parking lot? Imani throwing Xianwu out? Marcus saying, "Take me home?" Or the sunflower costume hug? Drop it in the comments. Have you ever had to decide whether to forgive someone who hurt you and helped you? Have you ever been the person who needed forgiveness they didn't deserve? Share your story. If this touched something real inside you, smash that like button and subscribe to Tales by Wave for stories where courage, truth, and love aren't simple, but they're always worth it. Sometimes the smallest voice asks the hardest question, and sometimes the answer changes everything. See you in the next one.